Welcome back to the Unsecurity podcast. This is Megan Larkins. I'm here with Brad Nye, and our guest today is Jim Wilt, introduced to me a little while ago, though now I've had the actual opportunity to meet him, introduced to me as the AI guy of the Twin Cities, though that may, as he'll explain, not completely accurate, but still he's been talking and educating people participating in the AI conversation, so we're really glad to have him here today. So yeah, with that, Jim, you want to introduce yourself a little better?
Sure thing. Hi, everybody. I'm Jim Wilt. I'm rubbing shoulders with the top guys in AI in the Twin Cities. There's a large group of just energetic and exciting people that I've been able to interact with, and I wouldn't put myself at the level that they are, and they wouldn't put themselves at the level that they think I am. So we're just all mutually respectful. But the reality is, there's such a great brain trust of good AI thinking going on in the Twin Cities. Applied AI is a group that meets every other Thursday. Justin Gremmen's lab 553, I forget what the number is putting it on. It's in St. Paul. It's just awesome. And anybody that's interested, there's some really great minds getting together on a weekly, bi-weekly basis to talk about AI, what they're learning, what their struggles are. So this is great. Your podcast is another good example of leadership of AI in the Twin Cities. So this is great to be here.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks so
Good to
much for
have you.
joining us.
So,
Um, yeah, go ahead, Fred.
yeah, we typically start with, so what are you doing for fun outside of work? So I'll start with Megan and to not totally catch you off guard, Jim.
Yep. It's felt really busy. It's been summer here. The kids are home, trying to find that right blend of getting stuff done and having fun in the summer. But between just trying to get out and enjoy the weather and do things, I've been playing the old but remastered game Elder Scrolls Oblivion. So that's kind of been for me lately. My husband played it a while ago, and he did absolutely every, what is it, guild quest membership, and I'm like, no, I'm not joining the Dark Brotherhood. I don't want to kill people on purpose. So I'm vying for being a thief mage instead. So that's me.
Nice. Jim, what about you?
So, I guess a lot of things. I do like to run quite a bit, and my wife and I love hiking. We're in Seattle right now visiting our daughter, and yesterday we hiked, I don't know, 3 or 4 miles in the watershed in Redmond, which sounds like, okay, it's a nice little park, right? It's 800 acres of
Wow.
thick woods. And when I run the watershed with my daughter, we can run 15 miles and it never hit the same trail twice. It's just
Wow.
amazing. So we like the outdoors. That's what we like about the Minneapolis area. We live near Clary Lake Park, and we like to walk around the lake. There's all kinds of great hikes we do in Minneapolis as well. It's just kind of fun for us to do. And when I'm not walking, I'm running.
Yeah, nice.
Awesome.
Yeah, I do love that this area requires a certain amount of park or green space per population. It really helps get
Hmm.
that outdoor space available.
Hmm.
Um, Myself, I'm working on I'm making a model of the Millennium Falcon. It is 2 feet by 3 feet, weighs 24 pounds. So it is got working LEDs and a ramp and everything. So that kind of keeps me busy.
Nice. I see your models in the background. They're pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a miniature one here that came as part of it.
Cool. That's
Nice.
my family's been recently starting to watch the Star Wars movies again. We showed them at least the original three some while ago, but they were young. I think they don't really remember much about it. But then my husband and I were watching Andor, which wrapped up leading into I get all the, I guess it was Rogue One was the first, was that movie, I think, and which then ramps into episodes 4, 5, and 6. And so he started watching the tail end of Andor with us, and we just kind of kept going. And so now they're looped in. And my daughter now wants a Millennium Falcon, which I'm trying to convince her is a lot of work and or a lot of money.
It is both, especially the
Yeah.
one I got.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So we'll probably have to come see your model when it's done,
I,
but
I will bring it in and share it, no problem.
that'd be awesome. um, so yeah, so today, obviously, we're here to kind of start the conversation. We haven't really talked about AI a whole lot on our podcast yet, but it's been a growing trend of conversation. I think you can't really get through the news without hearing about AI something, and getting lots of questions, of course, to our organization, to our consultants about how does this apply to me? What do I need to do about it at my organization or within my career? So we're glad to kind of start this AI conversation by bringing you in, Jim, to just learn what you know and kind of have a conversation. Even this week, ISC Squared was doing one of their spotlight kind of conversations, and they featured AI there as well. So I was glad to catch a few of those and hear some of the voices talking about what's it mean for security, what's it mean for the industry, all the different flavors of AI. I think that's what I've been learning the most is there's that term AI, but it can mean a lot of different things, and they're not here to just take over our jobs either. So we're not at the point of computer overlords yet, right?
Right. I think one of the phrases, who was it that wrote the book? It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. I think that's how people are looking at artificial intelligence, machine learning,
Mm-hmm.
generative AI. It's an interesting, people react differently. I have relatives back in Michigan that won't even talk if you mention AI. They are so against it. It's like, but do you even know what it is? And then you've got other people like at Applied AI that are coming and they go, I don't know what it is, but I know it's big and I got to learn it. And
Hmm.
that's probably the two ends of the spectrum, the ultimate fear of the unknown to the grasping the unknown without really knowing what's going to happen. And both are dangerous in a sense that you can get either shadowed away from it or too hyped into it and not know what's going to happen. And I find that one of the approaches that I recommend, and maybe I'll give you a little background. I first got introduced to AI probably in the mid 90s, 1990s, when I was in aerospace and we were making the machines that build the skin of stealth aircraft. So, like the B 2 bomber and the F 18 EF series, the EFA fighter, the F 35 now, the 787. All of these aircraft are made out of composites. Well, as that fiber is being laid on a mold in the shape of the airframe, lasers are heating it up to make sure it lies as flat as possible because any anomaly can cause an airplane to crash, and we don't want that. So we used a neural network to know how the temperature should change based on the material consistency. And a neural network meant that it learned while it was being used. So it got smarter. The more it was used, the smarter it got. And that was my first exposure. And it was really complicated math. I mean, it wasn't like, like it is today where you can ask ChatGPT to put an itinerary together for me. It was a little more bland than that. And then throughout growing my career, at one time then in 2005, I was working in a company that made NX Opinion, which was on a compact tablet, a diagnosis software using Bayesian logic. Now, it would have been early AI, and it would be called cognitive more than machine learning because it wasn't based on massive data analysis. It was made on mathematical equations and searching data. And it worked fairly well. It was at 80% confidence that it could diagnose. It was never meant to diagnose the patient. It was to rule out the 20,000 things that could be wrong to the 20 things that might be most likely. And that worked really, really well. Dr. Joel Robertson, a brain chemist, funded that, and it was made free to the world, the entire application. It was used for years, a lot in Asia and Africa. In the United States, it could only be used at teaching hospitals. So it'd be like, the University of Minnesota could use it, but it was it was our first foray into medical use of AI. And the team that really did most of the work on that, one of the guys, Scott Quabell, is now one of the country's foremost NVIDIA programmers. He's won, I think, the competition at NVIDIA like 5 times or something for the top, ability to code on their GPUs. So then you get into where machine learning took off. And if you want to get really boring, we'll put a few people to sleep in just 30 seconds here. There were things called data warehouses where we did cubes and we created and manipulated data to create multi-dimensional ways of examining the data. That's early AI, and that went into what become machine learning. And machine learning then takes massive amounts of data and creates the patterns of predictability, and that's predictive AI so that you make the same decision consistently. If you're
Mhm.
making the wrong decision, you'll still consistently make the wrong decision. And we've seen that with AI, where Amazon had a hiring AI machine learning system that would only hire white males from a certain university. And it was a bias. That's where the term bias comes from. The bias wasn't on purpose. It was because it's the data it was trained with. Therefore, it knew that's what I must be looking for. And it would reject.
The one
Megan.
best answer according to the data it's been given, right?
Yes, exactly.
So,
And so we're all learning from that. And that type of machine learning and AI has been around then, I would say, a good 15 to 20 years solid. And it's been, um, people get upset with this, but it's been mediocre at best. It's not been life changing. It's been good. Yeah, we've invested in it. I built a team here in Bellevue before I moved to Minneapolis that from scratch to do data science and machine learning and predictive analytics. And we did some stuff that was pretty landmark. It was pretty good, but it was not as massively hitting as generative AI and large language models. That's really taken the world by storm. And when you've been in it as long as I have, and you see this thing come out of nowhere, you're kind of like, cool. It's about time.
Somebody
You
finally
know?
figured it out. I think, the biggest thing that I've seen, and I'm not as in this versed in AI as you, but there's two things. First, people are still making it, so there's bias in the AI models, and it's bias based on the data that it's trained on. So I think that's going to be a big challenge to overcome. And
Mhm.
secondly, is how do we best take advantage of this, right? What is it going to do? What can it do? Can't it do? And I think the best use case is to make people more effective and efficient in their jobs. I don't think it's necessarily going to replace all jobs like people say. I don't know.
Yeah,
What's your take
you're
on that?
spot on. But Brad, you're spot on. It's an augmentation. It's never a replacement. There will be people that will try to replace humans or factions of their organization with AI, and in 2 to 3 years, they'll be having to hire those roles back. And that's okay. It's all part of the learning process as that pendulum swings all too far many times. But you're spot on also in that how do I know what I can do with it? And I really coach a lot of people in that aspect. I was working with the HICWA organization in Ireland recently, and I did a stint with them. And their CIO was like, I'm new to this. I understand machine learning. He goes, but this generative AI, I'm new to it. All the LLMs, and what do I do? And um, it was just Balakrishna is his name. He's just a brilliant man. And I just said, Bala, could you just do me a favor? Go get, I don't care, Copilot, ChatGPT, Gemini, Grok, do them all. And feed your CV into it, your LinkedIn profile, and say, tell me about me. Because you know you better than you. Can it guess you based on the information that you put on it and all the other information that's out there that you don't know about? Can you make that happen? So he did, and he built a bot about himself, actually, a RAG, a retrieval augmented generation. And his eyes opened up and it just changed his life. And his perspective changed completely. He goes, until I actually did it, he goes, it was just all hype. He goes, I have a good feeling now what I can and can't do with it. To your point, Brad, you can't just say it's going to change the world, it's going to take your jobs. It's not. But unless you get hands on with it, you're not going to know that for real. And that's part of the thing. That's one of the things when you ask people, they ask you, what do you think I should do? It's just play with it. Play with it with public information that you know about. Ask it questions, interact with it, and then you'll get a feel for what it can and can't do. Interesting thing is 2 years ago, it was at its worst it'll ever be. And it was pretty good.
Right.
In that 2 years, it's gotten a lot better.
Yeah.
And next month, it will be even better. And the month after that, it will be even better. So there's a curve and it won't flatten out for a while yet. We should take advantage of that and continually be learning about it. People are often afraid of what they don't know. So know it. Just get on the browser, start playing with it. It's in every app nowadays. Google has it in their search. Microsoft has it with Copilot. You can use ChatGPT and Grok and Claude for free, and you can use it to write code if you want to write code. Find a way to just play with it with stuff that you're comfortable with, and you'll find out what it can do well and what it can't do well. I found limits myself with it. There are times, but the reason I know it's getting better, I had it review some text, and I needed it to write a synopsis, and I'm like, after 3 times, it just started degrading and getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And I just done. And so my wife and I went overseas. I had talks in Dublin and London over the past 2 weeks. And I got back this week. And now we're in Seattle. And I just said, I'm just going to try it again. So I just fed in the text and said, write a synopsis on it. And nailed it. Absolutely. 2 weeks later, it nailed it. And I'm like, cool. I mean, this is what's exciting about the technology. It's continuously improving. I want to address Brad's comment on bias. I'm finding there are a lot of bias checks. You can turn them off. Like if you use the APIs, which I use quite a bit, you can turn bias checking off and get really, biased answers. But I think that it's getting to a point now where humans are going to carry a bias more than AI. Ask somebody about which Star Wars movie is the best Star Wars movie, and you will get biased answers.
A lot of different answers, yeah.
But if you ask ChatGPT which movie is the best, it will highlight all the goodness of all the movies and basically say, depending on what you like, you may like this better than this. And so they're starting to be conscious of the fact that bias is a problem. There are algorithms out there to check for bias, and they're starting to leverage them to create what they're trying to do is make a conscious effort to eliminate bias, but you will never eliminate it completely because the data is biased.
Right.
As well.
Yeah. I think the other important thing, again, I was actually talking to Tim about this, and it's you have to know how to prompt correctly. So he was trying to get some like PowerShell code, and it had like Python in the middle of it.
Right.
Or he was trying to do Python and it had PowerShell. And it's like if you don't know what you're looking at, you're not going to know that there's going to be a problem. But even if it did it correctly, if you don't know it, how do you know if it's going to do what you expect, right? So you still need to know.
Well, there goes where checks and balances are good. So you can use other models to look at the output of one model to check to see if there are issues with it. There was a speaker, and I just don't have his name off the top of my head. He was at the Applied AI conference last November, and he spoke on analysis he was doing in the University, I think, of Minnesota. Maybe it was St. Thomas. He was doing a kidney stone video analysis. And to your point, the prompting really matters. He spent a month trying to put prompts together to find the kidney stones in the videos in real time. He was trying to explain it in the prompt what a kidney stone is. And he was not getting the results, 50% at best. of accuracy. And he got frustrated and he walked away like I did too. He came back 2 weeks later, and instead of retraining the model to know what a kidney stone is, he just played the video and said, "What do you see?"
Hmm.
And the AI came back and said, "I see peanuts."
Oh, interesting.
And so he goes, "Find the peanuts in this video." And then he played another kidney stone video. So find the peanuts in this video. It was at 98%
Wow.
accuracy
Wow.
just by learning what the prompt is. So often, sometimes when people are new to AI, they're trying to tell it to do something. Sometimes I start out prompt to these the point, Brandon, you had. I won't tell. I'll say I want to have a discussion on the best ice cream in Redmond, Washington. Ask me 3 questions that I should answer to help me find the best type of ice cream for me. And it will then ask me 3 questions and it will tell me, well, obviously Molly Moon is what you're going to like the best, kind of a thing. And
Uh-huh.
so when we went to Dublin and London for conferences, I brought my wife. Um, I said, I want to do a lot of travel. I only have 4 talks. So 2 weeks, the times I'm not talking, I want to be seeing parts of the country. What should I see? And it came back with 7 questions on its own. What's your hotel budget? What do you like to eat? What do you like to do? Are there any special situations? I go, well, yeah, it's during our anniversary is going to be during that time. Okay, perfect. Put an entire itinerary together, and it was just spot on. It was really good. So these are things that before I put it into my business, if I'm using it for personal use and I'm getting satisfactory results, I can look at the prompts that I used. I can look at the questions it asked me. And can I say, well, that worked. How do I apply that to my business and the business I'm in, be it a medical field or a manufacturing field? There are organizations in Minneapolis that are doing it like with manufacturing that are companies you would never think would like even have a need for any AI, and they're having some groundbreaking results with it in the manufacturing process and the selection of materials. So these are things where, we need to get these people on stage at conferences and saying, here's a use case that nobody
Hmm.
would have thought about, and it works, kind of a thing. Because there's some really smart people doing this work just locally. That's just crazy interesting.
Yeah. It seems like the potential that g generative AI is kind of providing, we're just still figuring out, especially for so many people that haven't been in the development of the AI so far. You're going to bring a lot more mindsets, a lot more approaches, a lot more just ideation, and then it's probably going to continue to explode, I would imagine, as you get more people interacting with it, asking, hey, well, can it do this for me? I never would have thought of asking it to design my travel itinerary, but now hearing how much success you had with that, I'm going to have to give it a try. We've got a trip planned end of August. I might have to give that a try. So I
Oh,
don't know
you
if you
have to.
hope
It
so
is
hard.
amazing. Yeah, and it's not that it's going to take away a job, because
Hmm.
I wouldn't probably go to somebody to plan it for me, but there are times when something gets far enough to realize, like I asked it about some sort of plans for healthcare,
Hmm.
and it gave me all the knowledge I needed, but not enough to make a decision. And at the end, it basically said, now that you know this, you should probably consult an expert.
Hmm.
And here are the names of some local experts that you might want to consult. And it doesn't have a pay for business kind of a model. It just basically is finding them who are publishing locally in the area, and it knows them by those publications, and it says, this guy's publishing on this. You should talk to him, kind of a thing. So it's an augmentation, always an augmentation. There's going to be misuse of it, unfortunately. And I think with agentic AI, the tools and the excitement of things, you start realizing that we're making it about the screwdriver, the hammer, and the wrench more than we're making it about what it does, and it just creates a whole new life of its own. And I call them cottage industries that just take off. So if you're a consulting organization and you're worried about losing business because people are going to use AI, you'll sometimes create, well, we will do the AI for you, or we will do MCPs, model context protocols, to get a framework to get you to all the AIs to talk to each other on your behalf. What happens is you get layer and layer and layer, and it just dilutes everything. At this stage, it's simple enough just to use it raw and learn from it. And one of the things, I published an article in CIO.com that was on how to adopt emerging technologies. There's a danger zone where you play to the hype. You got to stay away from that danger zone. But there's a learning zone where you want to just learn about it by playing with it with public data. Nobody's weird. And then you're in a corporation, an enterprise, or a bank, a medical industry, like a hospital or a doctor's office. Well, now you want to have it start using your data. Now you've got to start following all the rules of security and regulation and all of these things, but you are doing it from a basis of knowing what it can do and can't do. Then at some point, you might expose that you're using it publicly, but we've already got companies that slap bolt-on AI to their whatever tool that they make just to say, we've got AI. I've got a toaster that has AI. I don't know why I need AI in my toaster, but I paid $20 more for it. It better work good.
Perfectly even browning all the way through.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's got that neural network I had in aerospace.
Oh,
So
That's right. Sounds like
that's
that.
that's the problem. The hype just takes over. And then that's what people get afraid of. But here's the worst problem with hype. Let's say you've got a CIO that's all into it, getting pressure from the board. You got to bolt on some AI or else we're not going to be competitive. So he throws money in a group that basically, what are you going to do with it? And they don't know. They've not played with it yet. So they look at the hype in the articles and they go, well, we're going to build a medical diagnosis. Well, we don't do anything in the medical field. Doesn't matter. We're going to do medical diagnosis. Okay, go for it. And then they'll find out they can't. They can only get 80% confidence, and you're not going to send a dog to surgery, let alone a human, with 80% confidence. So then they find out that the hype they couldn't deliver on, they fall short, they lose their funding, and then everybody hates AI. And that's a bad scenario, but that's a common scenario. If you just play with it, learn what you can do, and do internal, but don't tell anybody you're doing it externally, you're going to be solid. And then if you ever get to the point where you tell people you're doing it externally, you're doing it with confidence. And that's the key to those companies that are very successful with it and those that aren't. And like locally, Thomson Reuters, they're doing it that way. They're absolutely brilliant with the way they're doing it. Another one down in Texas is Capital One. They're doing it solid. Absolutely. Internally, figuring out how to make themselves better. And eventually they'll announce that they have products with AI in them. But a lot of these companies aren't even going to announce that. Products are just going to get better. And people are going to go, well, you guys have doing some real work. And they'll snicker and go, yeah, generative AI has been augmenting us.
I think, Megan, we were talking about this before we recorded, but your comment was, what do you do if the leader comes to you with, hey, we're going to use AI or whatever it is, and my initial thought is, what are you trying to achieve, right? But I'd like to get Jim's reaction on, if a leader comes to one of the listeners with, or they're already dealing with this, of we need to use AI, what would your response or your advice be?
I would recommend they do it sensibly. So I say, first of all, yes, I agree. We should use AI. I don't know yet, but I will know in 3 weeks where it makes sense. If I'm allowed unabated access to these 3 or 4 models to use with public data to find out how we can apply it internally to our organization. And one of the things that can happen is giving it to people not in the technology field as well, and seeing how they can leverage it themselves. So there's ways You can either put a wrapper on it, or you can put some guidance around it so that you've got people playing with it, and then it'll surface. Like with Bala and Hikwa, it just, he came up with some of the most landmark ways of governing AI in Ireland against the EU AI Act. His first comment was, before we put any regulation reviews in place, he goes, we have to put education in place. And so for the first quarter, 2 quarters, they're going to focus on education of their constituents, what AI is, how it can be leveraged sensibly, and how it can be transparently monitored, so that when these acts come into play and he has to start hitting them with the hammer of regulatory constraints, it will come by them having knowledge of what it is and the way they should be using it in a safe way. And these are things that when a person hits you up and says, I need it tomorrow, kind of a thing, you just have to push back and say, in 3 weeks, we will have 4 use cases that make sense. But the people that know the use cases are probably not your technology people. They are for the technology use cases. Like, we're going to write better solid code. Given you can do that with AI, that's not a problem. That's not hype. That's proven. But what about the accounting department? What about the care department? What about the telephone support? How are they going to be able to leverage it? And a lot of times, what I find is that I don't need the AI talking to the customer. I need the AI listening to the customer, giving me a sentiment rating, and telling me this is what they're really frustrated with. And these are the things you could probably tell them that will help them, kind of a thing. It's an augmentation. It's not a replacement.
Awesome. Well, thank you. This has been really, I think we could probably go for an hour easily, but I want to thank you for coming on. I think this was really helpful. Um, we always wrap up with gratitude or shout out, so I'm not gonna put you on the spot there. But Megan, you can go first.
Yeah, I can do that. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I'm grateful to Jim, of course, for joining us on pretty short notice. That's been lovely and just great to start the conversation and dive in. Um, I am just kind of starting to learn more about AI myself and what's it mean? What's it mean for us in our organization? What's it mean for our clients that are coming to us with questions about AI? What it means from the security standpoint? How can we be educating people? And I think say what I just went to the conference, and so one of the speakers I wanted to call out was this Kyle Walters, and how he so emphasized the need for education. And I hear that so much from you too, Jim, is like, I think there's so much hype and also change and fear as it all comes out. And so it's just like people don't know and don't understand what this AI thing is and what it means and how it can help and what it can do and what it can't do. And some people, like what you said, are going to dive straight in and say, we just have to do it. I don't care what the repercussions are, we just have to do it. And they're not wrong. It should be implemented. And other people are going to stick their head in the sand and going to say, nope, we don't want anything to do with it. It's changed. This is different. It's going to make us all stupid or whatever. We can't do that. But educating ourselves, what is it? Where is it? Where is it going to go? Attackers are going to use it and are using it already. So we need to be knowledgeable. We need to educate ourselves. So I think just kind of maybe a general thanks to all the people that are trying to put the education out there and make it available to those of us that are trying to play catch up, essentially, like me, with where it's at and trying to do just that.
So I'm gonna give a shout out to our IR team. They've been crazy busy lately and helping our clients and just making sure everybody gets taken care of. And so just shout out to them. All right. And
So my shout out will be to a couple guys in the applied AI group. Justin Graham is the one that runs it. Steve Peterson is a real supporter of that. Stephen Kaufman is another. And then Michael Larufo and I will be speaking together at the healthcare event at University of St. Thomas on July 30th. And he is probably one of the most influential people on LinkedIn that just is involved in everything. And he has a solid foot in the ground of the technology and a solid foot in the ground of the community. And I just love it when he speaks because he was always educating people about this is how you do it. He's done classes on prompting. We've talked about that earlier. And just as equally in that passionate about getting people elevated in the education about it. And the community is there. And what a neat time to be in the technology, right? It hasn't been this exciting for the last 30 years. So this is great.
Nice. Megan, anything else? You're the organized one.
I'm the organized one. I got to remember what I'm organized about. Well, I think, I guess I can say, like, yeah, if you have any feedback, want to be a guest, have suggestions for us, please submit those through our website or through our email at unsecurity@FRSecure.com. And then following this episode, we should be having a conversation talking legal in cyber. So that should be another great conversation that Brad and I are really looking forward to. So thank you for joining us, and we'll talk to you next time.